Hello everyone and welcome back to another session of Elden Ring PvP and another weapon showcase. Today we are taking a look at the Axe of Godfrey. This is a weapon that you get from trading in the Remembrance of Horaloo, and I have to be honest, I do not like this weapon. I don't think that it's a good weapon, I don't think that it's a good representation of the Colossal Weapon class, and there are a number of issues that I have with this thing, but let's get started with the basics. First and foremost, the weapon requires 42 strength and 14 dexterity to wield, and it weighs 18 units. It is a somber weapon, and the skill on the weapon is Regal Roar. With this weapon at plus 10, it has a physical base damage of 404, a C scaling in strength, and a D scaling in dexterity. Now let's get started with the pros of the weapon. First and foremost is the damage. Big weapon does big damage, not really shocking anyone, and that's what it's good at. It is good at hitting big numbers, and that's all well and good if it had a little bit more to back it up. The skill on the weapon also hits some pretty good damage. It has a wide area of effect, and that's a good thing. And with that skill active, your R2s do change. With the R2s, they have a smaller AoE that is okay, and that smaller AoE is followed up by a relatively quick swing. That attack is actually pretty good, and you can charge it to throw off the timing, and that's a good thing. That said, the follow-up to your R2 is an upward swing where you charge at your opponent, and that attack is horrible. That attack has basically no tracking, like it's just awful. Like, don't do it, to be honest. It's that bad. It kind of just is what it is. Now, the cons of the weapon, oh boy. Oh boy. So for starters, the skill. It takes so long to use the skill that you'll really only ever land it if someone is running at you or jumping at you or being unnecessarily aggressive around you. That's really the only time that you'll land this skill. With the R2s, after you've been using the skill and have them buffed, they're okay. But again, same sort of thing. You're going to be very hard-pressed to land those attacks unless your opponent is being extremely aggressive. All someone has to do to avoid your attacks with this thing is to backpedal, or when they're, waiting for you to finally finish screaming to do your skill, they can just jump. That's all that it takes. You jump. And then you take forever to recover, and in that time they hit you. So it's really kind of not great. Aside from that, the weapon itself, it's slow to attack, it's slow to initiate the swings, it's slow to recover, and because of both of those things, it's too slow to keep good pressure on your opponent. It's just such an easy weapon to avoid, it's an easy weapon to dodge, and you have to rely a lot on trading hits with this weapon. And there's a time and place for that, don't get me wrong. But there are better options for weapons to use when you want to aim to trade hits. Basically, any weapon that can take advantage of the Spear Talisman would do a better job. And that's really kind of a shame. Like you're seeing here, on average, I'm hitting probably around 500 damage when I get a single hit. And that's not terrible, but it's not good. It's not good by any means. Aside from that though, the skill of the weapon actually doesn't work with the Roar Medallion, which is unfortunate. So, it's kind of a minor gripe at that point, but any improvement would be huge. So, it leaves a lot to be desired, this weapon. Also, I feel like it's a bit short, given the weight and the utility of the weapon. I feel like if it were a bit longer, maybe it would be a bit better. Maybe I'd be a little more lenient with it if it were a longer weapon. But as it stands, other weapons in the class just so far outshine this one that this one is nothing short of a disappointment. It's just such an easy weapon to dodge, it's an easy weapon to avoid, and it's an easy weapon to punish. So it just doesn't feel like a good weapon. So, you know, it is what it is. That said, it is okay to use from time to time. It is satisfying when you do get to land the skill, when you do hit someone with that area of effect. That's nice. When you do have someone who's actually being aggressive and going for trades, that's great. And even on this guy here, if you have someone who's using Raptor of the Mists, the roar will actually trigger them to jump in the air, and you can get a trade with the follow-up. And that's phenomenal. That's nice. But it's just inconsistent, and you can't rely on your opponent to deal less damage than you do when you go for a trade. There are so many things in this game that are just so extremely damaging that this weapon, even with its relatively high attack rating being mid-700s on my build, it's not great. There are other weapons in its class that are mid-800s. Like, it kind of just is what it is. So, you know, I've got nothing really else to say about it. Like, I don't like being so negative about weapons, but this one just is kind of bad compared to the rest of its class. It's heavy, the moveset's not great, it's slow, and the area of effect on its stomp just takes forever and is easily countered by simply pressing one button to jump. So maybe don't use this thing. Maybe use a different colossal weapon and put War Cry on it if you want a roar. If you want a good charging attack, then maybe try that out instead. And even with that, War Cry on a different weapon does work with the roar medallion, so that's a good option there too. You can really stack up the damage on other colossal weapons in a way where this one just can't. So it's a shame that this weapon isn't as good as it could be. There's a lot of things that could be improved to make it better, but it is what it is. That said, this is the last fight in the video. I actually had a couple of fights with this guy. I didn't have the opportunity to show both of them because after the first one, my computer actually crashed and the footage did get corrupted, but he did beat me the first time, let it be known. So we have a 1-to-1 tie between me and him. I couldn't find him a third time, so it's a bit of a shame we didn't have a tiebreaker, but again, it is what it is. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video to be helpful in one way or another. I hope you've enjoyed it in spite of my negativity towards this weapon. Thank you all for stopping by, and thank you all for all the support this past month. I really do appreciate it. And that's all I've got to say, so one last time, thank you everyone for stopping by, and I'll see you all next time.